We live in a time of extreme political tension in the United States. In many ways, it's heartbreaking, but I completely understand it. This morning, I put up a short, and I asked the question, are some Christians looking at President or former President Trump in a way that is not fair to him? Are they looking at him in a way that doesn't fully and truly represent our faith as believers in Jesus Christ? Indirectly, I ask the question, have we put Trump in a place that he doesn't belong, on a pedestal that he shouldn't be on, when some Christians equate him to having a Christ-like equivalency? Now, some people in the post jumped in and said that there's no proof that anyone said that there was a comparison between Trump's trial and Jesus's trial. Yes, they did. There are thousands of them, and there are thousands of social media posts. Google may not show that if you Google it, but if you look individually in both X, formerly Twitter, or in Facebook and just do a general search on Trump's trial versus and Jesus's trial or something of that nature, you'll start to find the posts. They're there. And what I am essentially arguing here is, have we blended our faith and politics? The most interesting thing to me is, if anybody who knows me knows I'm anything but a leftist. Far from it. Matter of fact, what you probably don't know, and I probably haven't shared with you anywhere, is that I have a master's degree from George Washington University in political management. I have run conservative congressional campaigns. I have been on the front lines of political battles. And do you know where it left me? It left me empty. It left me void. It left me understanding the manipulation that is happening out there. Not only did I go to seminary at Dallas Theological Seminary, attend Lancaster Bible College, two fine, amazing schools, by the way. And not only did I earn my faith, I've learned what it means to walk in a way that we understand that we're working out our salvation with fear and trembling, that we have a holy God who loves us and who gave himself for us. There is no moral equivalency between any human being and Jesus. And there are people making those comparisons right now. They've been making them. Even Trump himself has made some of those comparisons. And tomorrow in a longer video, I will go over and show those things. The heartbeat of the post and the heartbeat of tomorrow's post and the heartbeat of this post is not political. But it's always interesting to me how we take presuppositions of what we think people are saying, and we throw a presupposition on them. And in doing so, it's not fair to either yourself, to the individual doing that, or to the individual who is making an argument. The question about, is Trump a false god, is not one of, did Trump make himself a false god? It's one of, have some Christians participated in a form of idolatry through politics, that they have equated the practice of our faith with political things? That doesn't mean we don't engage in political life. It doesn't, but it does mean that we have to step back and sometimes see the bigger picture. Who is it that God is asking me to be? God is asking me to be somebody who is Jesus's, his eyes, his ears, his hands, his feet, his tears, his joy, his heartbeat for human beings. I am far from a leftist. I'm not angry. I don't have anger in my heart. I'm not angry at anyone who would say anything harsh even towards me. I love all of you. But that doesn't mean that I don't think we should hold back from speaking the truth. And the truth is, some of us have committed a form of idolatry, albeit unintentionally. I've got a good friend who is a former professor, a Bible professor, a pastoral professor. And the most fascinating thing about him is he does these trips all over Israel and Turkey. And he shared with me recently that he takes people in Jerusalem down to the Wailing Wall, which is the base of the temple. And he will step back and let people go up to the wall. And he'll observe them. And some people get very emotional about it. And they just get overwhelmed with feeling like the presence of God is there. And they come back to him and they ask him, why didn't you go to the wall with us? Why don't you feel the way that we're feeling? And he would say this. He says, do you know what that is? And most people would say, well, yeah, it's the Temple Mount. It's part of the Temple Mount. It's the wall. And he goes, it's a retaining wall. No different than a retaining wall that you would have in your yard or around your home or around a structure to protect the earth from shifting and moving. And do you know who built that retaining wall? Do you know who built this Temple Mount? It was Herod the Great. Herod the Great was no lover of the Jewish people. He was a manipulator of them for his own purposes, for power and lust of power and all of these other things, right? And by your act of going up to a wall and worshiping a wall, you actually fell into idolatry, worshiping the wall instead of worshiping the God that this place was dedicated to. And it's subtle, and it's profound, and it's earth-shattering when you come to that conclusion. And what I'm challenging all of us to think is that, are we taking a person and are we elevating politics to a place that perhaps we shouldn't? I'm not arguing was Trump's trial fair or not fair. No, actually, I'll argue it. I know it wasn't fair. I know there are things that were wrong, but these are things that are out of my control. What is my response as a Christian to these things? My response is, I need to pray for that judge. I need to pray for that jury. I need to pray for that prosecutor. I need to pray for Trump. I need to pray for people that are angry right now, who feel that everything is spiraling out of control. And maybe it is and maybe it isn't. But what is my response? My response is to pray for people, to love people, to speak truth to people, and to be the eyes and the ears and the heartbeat and the tears and the hands and the feet of Jesus as much as I can possibly be. I'm imperfect. There's no question. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. There is no perfect. But when we go back and look at the response of the video, if you watch the video and you look at the comments that are in the video, these emotional-based response are political anger. And folks I'm not even sure that they're fully aware of how angry that they are. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. That's not for me to judge. What is for me to make a value decision on is that before you hurl stones, let's take a look at our own hearts and let's be sure we're not throwing rocks through glass walls or glass windows or whatever the case may be. So let's just think about this together. Let's work through this together. I'm not asking you to not vote for Trump. I'm not asking for you to not support him. I'm not asking any of that. What I'm asking is for us as Christians to evaluate our heart and to ask some very challenging and difficult questions. Tomorrow I'm going to get into more of a teaching aspect on this. I'm going to get into what are these things? What are people saying? And I'm talking about highly popular social media figures that even say they're Christian. Now, you can argue that they are, they're not. I'm not going to get into a debate with you on that. All I'm simply doing is just challenging us who is absorbing this content to just give thought to it. Where does this lead me? Where does this take me? How does this positively or negatively impact my mind? Because, folks, what we're experiencing in America politically is just as much about the political stuff and the physical stuff and the war over the culture wars over this stuff. It's also spiritual warfare. See, Ephesians 6 as Ephesians chapter 6 reminds us, we are not against We're not at war with flesh and blood. We are against war. We are at war with spiritual wickedness of forces in the heavenly places and against evil principalities and rulers and people that manipulate us and take us from God. And my only question to you was, it wasn't a political statement. My only question was, is this whole debate taking you closer to God, or is he taking you further from him? It's not for me to decide the answer to that question. That's up to you. But I do want to put it out there. And that is the heartbeat of this whole conversation that I'm having with you right now. So, agree with me, don't agree with me. You can leave your comments below. I'm still going to do the video tomorrow. I'm hoping that we have a good interaction together. I love you. I love every single one of you. I'm praying for you. And I'm not praying for you to be right. I am just praying broadly for you that God touches your heart and that you make a decision you know honors and pleases him. That's all I'm saying. God bless you. We'll talk soon.